Peoples of the universe, please attend carefully. The message that follows is vital to the future of you all.
And that is no idle suggestion that is vital to the future of you all, because it's an IndieGoGo spotlight. An IndieGoGo spotlight is always an exciting time for all of us, exciting for you, exciting for me, because we get to look at the best, the most passionate, the most cutting edge in comics, and it's a project that I've actually known about for a little bit. I'm really kind of excited. I actually got to see some of the artwork for it. Was it yesterday? Was it yesterday or today? He sent it to me. Anyway, looks really, really cool. I'm really excited to have a chat. He is no stranger to my channel. He's been on a few times before. He's always been on the comic book improv show, which I got to work out when we're doing again. But he's always been on it. And he's always won. He's always been very good at it. So, I think we're all excited to hear about his journey into comics, his journey into the wacky world of the funny books, which, let me tell you, they don't look that fun in this world. They look, it's not something you should be leaving around for your young, impressionable children. That was just the impression I got thumbing through it. But let's talk to him. Let's talk to the man himself. And it is, of course, Lucifer Storm. How are you?
I'm good, Rabbi. I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. How the devil art thou?
I am awfully good. It's always good to be had. It's always good to be had.
Of course.
Of course. Are you preparing for lockdown? Wait, are you in London? Are you in England? Right, you're in England.
Yeah, I'm in England. I'm in Bournemouth, which is right in the middle of the south of England.
Right.
So we've had one of the lower infection rates, but it has been climbing pretty rapidly recently.
Right.
And they announced lockdown on Saturday, and
no grateful time. What's up with that?
I know, right? I know.
We really could have put up for a day.
It was a real shitter on Halloween as well. Get that news, you get the Sean Connery news, you still got the aftermath of the France terror attacks as well.
Right.
And it was just like, well, Halloween's out the fucking window.
Well, Halloween came to town. Let me just. Oh, by the way, the link for the sign up, which we're going to be mentioning many times for Lucifer's new book, is in both the video notes and the chat, depending where you are. So please listen. It's free to sign up. I'm going to be making this pill many times. It's a numbers game. It really is. It's a numbers game. The more people you sign up, the more people buy them. If you're not planning on buying it, it doesn't matter. Take 2 minutes, sign up. It's really incredibly helpful. Another thing that's incredibly helpful, it's free, absolutely free. Hit the share button. Just share it on your social media. If you can do it once or twice, that's just absolutely fantastic. Especially if you're somebody who is a bit of a fan of horror. Let me pull up the cover too, because the cover looks really fantastic. I do like I like it in black and white. I like the spot red. I think it's really cool. But yeah, before we start talking about this book specifically, let's talk about you. Let's talk about you and your journey into comics. So how did you get into comics? What's your story?
My comics journey begins when I'm like knee high to a grasshopper. I was a kid who, like, when I was growing up, I was into the stuff that a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's not cool. That's not fashionable." So as a kid, I'm watching reruns of Doctor Who and Star Trek. I'm watching James Bond movies and Transformer cartoons.
Okay, all this sounds very cool to me. Anybody saying that's not cool, there's something wrong with them.
Well, back in the early 80s, apparently it wasn't cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, James Bond was kind of cool in the early 80s. It depends how old you were, really. I mean, he had some broken ones. That was when you had Octopussy, right? And when James Bond teams up with the all-female acrobatic circus in India. Take down Octopussy, the bad guy with a weird chain, with a weird like circular saw on a yo-yo. Okay, that was a bit of a weird one. I do agree. And Doctor Who. Hey, listen, Doctor Who was. Yeah, we all watched Doctor Who, and we all were tarred with the brush of shame. I just got used to it. Right, yeah. So you're into interesting stuff. You're into the little genre stuff out off the beaten edge, off the beaten track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was starting to discover horror and stuff. And because I was born prematurely, I was very sick as a kid. Quite a lot. I would get ear infections, colds, and God knows what else.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time when I should have been at school, but I wasn't well enough to be at school.
Right.
And I had this moment with my parents where I said to them, like, when the other kids are off of school, they get a get well present. Why don't I get one? They're like,
well, you see, you were a smart kid straight away. That was a good idea. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And eventually they kind of gave in and said, well, maybe we should do it just once. And they didn't know what to get. And all of a sudden they came back and they were like, here, have this. And it was this little stack of comics. So stuff like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Batman, Superman, all stuff that I'd seen bits of on TV, because I'd seen like the Adam West Batman stuff and the old 70s Spider-Man stuff, which, you know, interesting. And I even saw like some of the old Batman serials from the 1940s and stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. Actually, they showed those on BBC Two, I remember, one year.
Yeah.
When was that? I do remember them showing it. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
That's right. So yeah, that got me started. I started flicking through the pages and I wasn't properly reading them. I was just kind of like looking at the artwork and going, this is fantastic. You know, I didn't realize that Spider-Man could do this. I didn't realize that Batman could do this. And that led me to sort of like take my pocket money and I'd go to the local news agents, and I couldn't find that stuff there. I was just finding like Beano and Dandy. So I was picking that stuff up and going, this isn't the same. And then all of a sudden, one day I go into like my local branch of WH Smith's. I got my pocket money. I've saved up a bit of money because there was a new Doctor Who videotape coming out at the time.
Oh, which one?
I believe it was Dragonfly with Sylvester McCoy.
Dragonfly. Well, that came out later, though. That was in the 90s, wasn't it? All right, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. And whilst I was there, I was like, hey, what's this over here? It's called 2000 AD. You know what? I'm gonna give that a go. I think I've got enough pocket money to get that. I'll have to put the candy back and all that jazz. But I picked it up, and once again, like I was just looking at the artwork, and I was like, "This is beautiful."
Like, do you remember what whereabouts were you in the run? What issue?
Oh, I couldn't tell you for love nor money.
What was the cover? I see if I can work it out.
The cover was like a white background, and I think it had Tharg just like really prominent on the cover. I can't remember too much about it beyond that, but like it was about like 70 pence for a copy. So I picked that up, and you know, I would take it to school and stuff, and most people were like, "Oh, nerd, geek." You know?
Really? I picked up. It was a few years before you. I'm just saying, Dragonfly came out in February '94, so I'm looking up 2018 February '94.
Yeah.
Find the cover. February 1994. Let's see how far we get.
That sounds about right, because it was around like I was in like my last school, so I'm in my teenage years. Everything's really fucking awkward. You know, you've got all. I was like the long-haired kid in the sea of French crops. When it came to days where you didn't have to wear your school uniform because you chipped in a quid for whatever, I would be the one that would be wearing like a Korn t-shirt or a Marilyn Manson hoodie. And everyone else was wearing like Yves Saint Laurent shirts and stuff like that, because apparently fashion was more important than anything else, and trying to be the hard kid. So I just stuck to myself, and like I made a small group of friends who were like, oh yeah, you know, we like horror movies, we like comics, and we're exploring things like heavy metal.
These look familiar.
That Dredd one, the one where he's holding up the baton. That
75. You got the price right. There you go.
Yeah, so it might have been that. It might have been that. Like I said, it's so long ago now. So
you got Road Troop, you got Slain, you got Armageddon. Who cares? Mambo, I never really read, but you got Slain and what was it Road Trooper? That's a pretty good issue to go in with.
Oh hell yeah, man! Starting off with all those characters, that's a badass way to start.
It is,
and yeah, so like I made this small group of friends, and like one of them said like, "Hey, look, you know, there's this new comic book that's come out. We need to go to the comic book store." And I'd only been to a comic book store once before. Like my dad had took me to this seedy little place.
In Bournemouth, where you are now, or anywhere different?
It was in Boscombe, which is a part of Bournemouth.
Right.
And it was this seedy rundown place, because Boscombe is the kind of place like you don't go there expecting to walk out of it without someone trying to mug you or offer you drugs at least once.
Okay.
So like it was this really shitty little seedy place, and like went in there and they had like issues of Fangoria, and they had like some of the early Mike Mignola stuff. They had like bootleg VHS of Godzilla movies and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. And I remember having that experience, walking away from it and going, I want to do that again one day. So when this kid turned around to me, it's like, hey, there's this new comic book that's come out. We need to go to the comic book store to get it. I was like, what's it called? And he said Spawn. And I was like,
wow, yeah, that's a good time.
I was like, I'm in. So we go down to the comic book store, and I picked up so much stuff. I was picking up manga. I was picking up The Crow. I was picking up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I'd already been into the cartoons anyway.
Yeah, so you basically walking in on the just on the crest of this 90s wave, right? You're about 2 years out from it. You basically exploded with you, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. And it just like I remember getting all that stuff and thinking, this is so badass. And like I took like my issue 1 of Spawn with me to school one day, and it was this art lesson, and the art teacher had turned up late, and he was like, I'm still not ready, get on with some homework or read or whatever. So I'm reading like Spawn issue 1, and he clocks me. He sees that I'm reading this comic book, and he comes storming over, and he takes the book out of my hand. I will never forget this because it was so traumatizing.
Right.
He took the book out of my hand and just said, comics aren't art, and he tore it up right in front of me.
Get out of here. What an arsehole.
Like, absolutely.
An absolute arsehole. An art teacher?
Yeah, an art teacher did
What
that. So from
like what? You want to get a kid into drawing? Like what? And
yeah.
What an absolute dick. That guy's crazy.
From that point on, I didn't pay him any attention. Like whenever he's like, okay, your assignments do this, I was like, well, I'm not fucking doing it. It's as simple as that. I didn't turn up for like my art GCSEs or anything. And he tried to have a go at me about it. And I was like, well, why? Why? You put me on the wrong path there. You should have encouraged me.
Yeah. I wonder what's going on in his life that made him like such an arsehole.
Oh, I don't know. There has to be something though.
Yeah. You know what? Especially in the 80s and 90s, you got that. I mean, you might get that still in schools. You get like these frustrated teachers who just like take crap out on the kids. You know, in hindsight, you don't really see. At the time, you don't get it. But in hindsight, you go, oh, that's what was going on. You guys was just a piece of shit. There you go.
But yeah, that made me go, well, you know what? I don't give a shit about his opinion. And at that point, I'm discovering girls. I'm discovering drink. I'm discovering drugs. I've got heavy metal music and a few good friends and a skateboard.
And I say, like, this is a time when comic books became art. I mean, you actually had Dave McKean. You had like real serious artists going in, doing comics.
This is only a few years after Arkham Asylum has come out. Who can look at the artwork in that book and say it's not art?
This guy's a moron.
Absolutely.
God, I want to find him. I want to find him and interview him now. Like, what's going on? He's probably dead.
I'd be like, how do you feel about giving him that advice now?
I mean, how much is Spawn #1 worth now?
Oh, fuck knows. But I'd probably have to get a mortgage just to afford it, probably.
I'm looking at Spawn #1 value. Let's see what it says. That can't be. It's worth $60 to $70. That's it.
Is that all?
I know. Okay, this was like Spawn #1. Click current eBay listings is not a bad comic considering it was released in '92. It's worth $60 to $70 and CG 9.8, but it'll cost you $30 to have it certified and slatified. Wow. Okay. So listen, you can you might be able to get that back now quite easily. Nice. Hopefully this campaign will do so well. You can buy yourself a copy of Spawn #1. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for you.
Fingers crossed. And some people, what people need to understand is back then in the UK, we didn't get the comics in the US when they came out. No. Sometimes it would take weeks. Sometimes it would take years before we got them. So Spawn's coming out roughly in 92. It's about 95, 96 when I first get my hands on issue 1. And to me, that's a new book and stuff. And like I said, because of that art teacher's advice, I was like, well, I don't want to draw. If that's how people are going to be, I don't want to draw. So
oh my God, this makes me so mad every time you say it. I'm like really? God,
I know, right?
Is the antithesis of what he's supposed to be doing.
And
but anyway, sorry, carry on.
Oh, that's all right, man. It just made me go, well, you know what? I'm going to focus on like my other creative endeavors at that point, because I was already writing stories. I was, messing around with music and like finding like my passion for music and stuff like that. And it was literally, about 10 years later, maybe a little bit longer, when my dad, he passed away from a very long battle with prostate cancer.
Right.
And that was around 2010. And that really showed me, like, at that point, I've been going from shitty job to shitty job to shitty job, not really knowing what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I was still, every now and then I would pick up a pencil. I had already been in a band for quite a few years at that point, and we had been touring and been in like a recording studio and stuff. And I was just in this position where I was like, I'll never forget it, because when I got the news, I looked out the window, and what hit me harder than hearing, your dad's dead, was the fact that the world didn't stop. I'm looking out the window and it's still moving as if nothing.
Yeah, it's very. The ordinariness of it is really quite breathtaking, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it just made me realize, like, if you don't do something now, you're never gonna fucking do it. You're gonna be miserable all your life, going from shitty job to shitty job, right? And maybe not even going from shitty job to shitty job. It could be shitty job to job seekers. You just never know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah. So like I looked at like the tiny amount of money that I had at that point, which was next to nothing. I think I must have had like about 57 pence and like half a Mars bar or something to my name. But I just said to myself, I was like, okay, I need to think about what it is I want to do. So I sat there, I thought about it. I was like, well, I want to tell stories, and I really love comics. I want to write for comics. So I started writing my own comics, and I got in touch with like a couple of people I knew who were artists. And I realized very quickly, not every artist is going to love your idea. Not every artist is going to want to draw your idea. And even the ones who do say, yeah, I want to draw this, it may not be the right time for them. They've got their own stuff going on, so they may not be able to deliver. So that was the point where I said, I don't know what my art skills are like anymore, but I think I'm going to pick up a pencil again. I'm going to get a couple of how to draw books. I'm going to keep writing the comics, but I'm going to try and reteach myself to draw.
Yeah, listen, if you're a writer, it's what you got to do.
Yeah,
it's what you've got to do. And listen, I think this is not your first book, is it?
No, this isn't my first book.
Because I'm like, it's very accomplished. I mean, like, if this is your first crack, I'm kind of impressed. I have to tell you. But
no, like my first book was a character called Jericho, and unfortunately, like I never really got to finish the book, because at that point, like, I felt confident in my art, but I knew I wasn't the best, kind of thing.
Right.
And I felt much more confident in my storytelling than anything.
Yeah, listen, I'm so on the same page as you. Yeah, okay, fine, exactly.
Yeah,
had exactly the same journey. Yes.
So I wrote this story, and because it was so close to my dad dying from a long battle with cancer, I had that thought of like, what is the toughest villain for a superhero to come up against? Well, a villain that's 3 steps ahead of them, even if the villain doesn't realize it. What better villain than a terminal disease? So this idea started gestating from there, and it had this mix of horror, it had this mix of giallo kind of stuff. Like, there was a literal bad guy, but there was the metaphorical bad guy in the idea of cancer and stuff like that. And I was there going, well, I love it, but I don't know if other people do. So a friend of mine comes to me, and I'm in a bar having a quick beer. And he says, dude, I'm going to a Comic-Con in London tomorrow. You need to come. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he was like, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So we jump in the car, and I grab a couple of boxes of the first issue that I'd done. I'd already finished the second issue, but it wasn't in print at that time. And I'd funded it myself. And we drove up to London, and it was my first proper comic book convention.
Do you have it on your website, this comic book?
No, because I do have plans to finally finish it, but I'll have to retweak some of the earlier art so that it flows better. Otherwise, it's going to be so jarring. But yeah, I worked on that. We get to this Comic-Con and there's so many people there that I'm like, oh my God, I recognize this guy. I recognize this guy. So I go up and I speak to like Corey Feldman and I give him like a copy of it. I speak to Doug Bradley from Hellraiser. I give him a copy of it.
Cool.
And then I see this queue and there's like this little booth and I'm like, who are they waiting for? And I find out it's Clive Barker. And I love Clive Barker's work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I jump in this queue and I've given out so many issue ones because at first I was like, I could try and sell them. And then I was like, what's the point? Just give them out for free.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I have like one copy left in my hand and I'm waiting to see Clive Barker. And it's taken a bit of time because it turns out that like it was a couple of days before or something. He had a major stroke. So he wasn't in the best of shape, but he still turned up with a smile on his face, and he was there to see the fans.
Right.
So I'm in this queue. It gets to my turn, and I say to him, like, you know, hey, look, dropping airs and graces here. Fucking love what you do. I want to say thank you by giving you the last issue of my comic book. And at that point, he stops the entire line because they're trying to move us like cattle in a slaughterhouse.
Right.
But he stops the line and says, whoa, you got to wait. And he takes the time to read the book in front of me.
Wow. That's incredible. What a great guy.
I am stood there pissing myself.
Yeah, listen, like, I mean, I'm sure you know now you're more experienced. To get something to read your work is freaking impossible.
Yeah,
he's doing it in front of you.
The hardest bit.
What a diamond.
Yeah, you can get anyone to pay for it. You can give it away for free. Getting someone to read it, that is always the hardest.
There you go. I know exactly it.
So he sat there reading it, and I'm pissing myself because I'm like, oh God, is he going to throw it back in my face? I don't know how this guy's going to react. I've never met him before. And he gets to the end of the book, closes it, and he just looks at me and goes, this is fucking amazing.
That's
so
awesome.
I was like, okay, he may be being nice, but I'm going to take that. I'm going to run with that. And he said, like, can you sign it for me? Like, yeah, sure, no problem. Wow. And like gave him like my address.
It's so great to hear these stories. It's so great.
It is. That put me on a high. I was so happy I could have fucking cried. And like, I really didn't know like how to take it in. I wasn't used to that. I didn't exactly like have the greatest childhood growing up. You know, I wasn't used to compliments and shit. I was used to a lot of do better. That's not good enough. And it never was kind of thing. So I'm stood in the middle of like Earl's Court with all these people going around me. And I'm like, Clive Barker just said, this is fucking amazing. I'm really happy. I don't know what to do. And then I noticed out the corner of my eye, there's two people. They're about like 30 foot away and they're talking to each other and they're pointing at me and they're talking to each other. And I'm like, oh God, like, have I done something wrong? Am I about to get kicked out? And they start walking over to me and I see that they've got copies of Jericho in their hand.
Okay.
And I'm like, who the hell are these people? One of them was Ricky Dean Logan, who's in Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. He's also in Freddy's Dead. Yeah, 2 and 3. He's part of Biff's crew in.
Okay, fine. I was gonna guess. I was like, I bet he's part of Biff's crew. Okay.
Oh yeah. And Crispin Glover, and they're both holding an issue with Jericho, and they're like, oh yeah. From what I saw, it was a very short interaction, but definitely crazy. And they were both like, dude, this is cool. Can you sign this for me?
Okay, this is the best day ever. This is fantastic.
Fucking right. Never had a day that's topped it yet. It happened one day, but not yet. So that was the point where like I walked away and I was kind of like, shit, you know, I think I've got something here. Am I being a one-trick pony? Is it a fluke? Is it lightning in a bottle or whatever? And as time went on, more and more people were getting in touch with me and saying like, you know, I read this book. And some people were like, it's not my thing, but I can see that it's a passion project and it says something special. Like what really hit it home for me was it must have been about 6 months after the first issue comes out. And I received this email from a guy in the States saying that he had picked up the issue 1 of Jericho and he hadn't read it. He had it by him for a little while. And he goes to the doctors one day because he's got a few problems, and the doctors give him a cancer diagnosis. And they say to him, look, you know, you got testicular cancer. You've got about 6 weeks left, kind of thing. And this kid is thinking, if I go through the chemo, it might last a bit longer, but it's going to be hell. It's going to suck. If I've got 6 weeks left, then why should I hang around for those 6 weeks? It's going to be a miserable 6 weeks. I might as well end it now, right?
Wow.
But then he sees his copy of, Jericho. And he's like, before I make a decision, I'm just going to, you know, do a couple of things that I enjoy. Watch a movie or whatever. I'm going to read this comic book. And because the comic book was about a superhero who becomes a superhero by trying to find a cure for cancer or an alternative for chemotherapy, he reads that first issue. And he says, dude, I got given that diagnosis. And I read this first issue, and I'm going to fight it because there's a hero on the page who's fighting for me. If they're going to fight for me, I'm going to fight for me too.
Wow.
I don't hear anything for like a year, 2 years. I assume the worst. Okay. I assume that he.
Yeah, 6 weeks, 2 years later. Okay, fine.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, ding, I get an email. And it's from this kid saying, dude, if it wasn't for Jericho, I would have ended it all back then. I'm now in remission and doing absolutely fine.
Wow. That's incredible. Oh, man. I tell you, that's a pretty good day, too. Okay, you had 2 days in comics. You're doing better than most.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started like doing some more of my own comics. You know, I had a few different titles out there. I was playing about with novels. I played myself as a zombie in like a low budget independent zombie movie, and everything was going fine. And then it was around 2014. I had a bit of a tough time. I was going through some tough personal stuff. My world had pretty much been flipped upside down. And it was during that time that like I was sat there trying to get through all this crap that's being thrown at me. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've done all this, but the one thing I didn't do that I was doing at the start, but I didn't do it after people started picking up on Jericho, is I wasn't looking at my stuff and saying to myself, what are my weaknesses? How do I make them my strength?
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You're right.
Absolutely. So I just took a couple of years going, you know what? With Jericho, people loved the story. They loved the character, but it is lightning in a bottle here. And I don't want it to be the only time I catch lightning in a bottle. So I start reading up on writing stories and going, oh, that's why the story worked, because I did this, because I had these elements to it and stuff. And I just gave myself a crash course where I just took in and digested everything that had to do with writing stories. And whilst I was doing that, I was sketching, and like I would look at some of the stuff I'd drawn and be like, the eyes are cool, but the shape of the head isn't. So keep going, keep trying to get better, kind of thing. So I did. And then before long, I was looking at all these characters that I had, this mass stable of characters. And I was like, I can't just leave these here. That's when I realized that I had stopped being afraid of dying, and that I was afraid of dying without telling these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Yeah, totally.
So I looked at them and I was like, okay, I'm going to do Jericho again one day, because I never got to finish the story. There were so many stories that were unfinished because of some of the shit that I was going through. And I was like, okay, in order to finish those, I need to do something else. So I was playing around with public domain characters and just seeing what I could do with them. And I'm looking through some, like there's Nightmare and Sleepy, there's Miss Mask, there's Black Terror, and I'm playing around with ideas, and I've got some cool ideas for those characters. And then I see this one character called Lady Satan. And I'm like, okay, let me read these books, because there's like 5, 6, 7 stories with her that are like 7 pages long. Let me read them. And the first thing that stood out to me is that no one knew what to do with the character. One story, she's a spy fighting Nazis. The next story, she's an occultist fighting werewolves. No one knew what to do. There was nothing solidified. So I sat back and I thought to myself, if I had a character called Lady Satan, what kind of character would they be? What have they gone through that made them think I'm going to take on crime or whatever, and my name is going to be Lady Satan?
So basically, you did something very similar that Neil Gaiman did with Sandman, right? He took the initial concept of Sandman and said, "What would I do with it?" It was totally different. It was completely different.
Yeah, literally. Like the only thing Lady Satan has in common with the public domain character is the name Lady Satan. That is pretty much it. So I started thinking about that and like got really deep into it. I was like, what would I have to be through if I became a vigilante called Lady Satan? I was like, 'cause whatever it is, to take on a moniker like that, you've got to go through some shit that literally no one else has been through.
Right.
And I thought about it and I was like, well, you know what? You never hear this person appeared in a snuff film and survived. What if she did? Like, if I appeared in a snuff film, survived it, I would want to become a vigilante. I think that justifies calling yourself Lady Satan.
I think it does. I think it does. I think you got a pretty good point there.
And it just grew from there. And before long, I just had this story. And like, whilst I was thinking of the initial idea, I drew this scene where she burnt someone alive. She got hold of this criminal, burnt them alive, and it moved on from there. And I just started adding these little elements, going, well, hold on, if she went through this, she would have PTSD. However, what else would that give her? It wouldn't just give her PTSD. It would give her things like anxiety and loads of other stuff. And I just started stringing out this massive backstory. And then this smaller story that I felt was like quite nice, quite personal, very extreme, very dark. Wasn't afraid to pull punches.
Wait, can I interrupt you 1 second? Just want to remind you guys, I'm going to show it's right here in the chat. The link to sign up for this IndieGoGo campaign is also, if you're watching this later, in the video notes. Please click the link. Please click the link. It's a sign up. It's completely free to sign up. Even if you're not planning on buying it, it's a number. I'm going to say this a lot of times. It's a numbers game. The more people you sign up, the better your campaign does. If you're not planning on buying it, it doesn't matter. You be one of the people who sign up and they don't buy it. If you can share it on your social media. I tell you, you have no conception of how great that is. You really have. You have no conception of how incredible that is. It's really one of the most greatest acts of kindness that you can do for literally nothing. Okay, so I just remind you, link is there. If you can hit it, that's fantastic. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's all right. So yeah, I had this story there, and I was developing other characters and going, well, I'm not settling on her just yet. I'm just going to develop some other stuff. By that point, I've started my YouTube channel. I'm sharing like my art stuff. I'm not getting many views or many subscribers, but then I make a video about the basics of writing comics, just like a few guidelines to help people write some comics. And boom, that video just started taking off, and my subscriber count was starting to go up. And I was like, okay, well, I want to do some more writing content, and I really want to write a book. So let's sit down and write a book. And I remembered Lady Satan. I tweaked bits. I'd added little bits, taken bits out, made it as tight as I could, and was like, let's write this girl's story, because there was something about it. Like, it gave me that same feeling when I came up with the concept for Jericho. There was a feeling that I only felt when it was coming up with something, and you think, if I was a reader, I would be all over that like a rash. If someone told me their book was about that, I'd be like, give it to me now. I will get my crayons out, make counterfeit money, and buy that book now.
Are you working like traditionally or digitally with this, or a bit of both?
I have done a couple of pages traditionally, but I'm mostly working digitally with this.
Save me! I could never get as far as I did. Oh, look at me! You got one sign already. Kip Ellis, you are a diamond, mate. Thank you, Ratty. Kip's a really good guy.
Kip Ellis, thank you very much, good
Simon. He always helps out wherever he can. Thank you, Kip. I am very, very grateful. Thank you.
Oh, legendary. Thank you very much, Kip Ellis. You are a star. If anyone tells you otherwise, I'll have a word with him. Don't worry.
No, actually, no. He really, I tell you, because he comes to my channel a lot. I see him around in the other chat. He's always like the first to do something nice for someone. You know, I found that a lot on YouTube. You just run into like these just nice people. So I was gonna say, I love the line work you're doing here. Really, like, I mean, it's you're controlling the line width and to give you that feeling of distance, of three-dimensionality. It's really nice work.
Thank you. Like, I gotta admit, once I had written the script for the book, because this was originally going to be like an 80-page graphic novel, and it was going to be serialized online, just 10 8-page chapters. But something about the story just grew and grew, and now at the moment it stands at around 130 pages. But I'm still illustrating it, so it could be even longer than that by the time the campaign launches.
It happens because, like, you flesh it out and it fleshes out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, that's really one of the great things about indie comics, because, like, if you need to put an extra page in or two to make the story better, you'll do it. You don't have anybody on your head telling you no.
Yeah, absolutely. And like my first rule when it came to writing this story was do what's best for the story. If what's best for the story is taking out 10 pages, you take out 10 pages. If it's adding 10 pages, you add 10 pages, no matter what.
So I asked you to before we started, but I saw your mock-up. It's hardback. So you're planning on making this like a hardback book?
Yes, this is going to be a hardcover book. And part of the reason for that being is originally, I've been saying for ages, Halloween, I'm going to have an announcement concerning this book. And that announcement was going to be, this is serializing across 5 issues, starting in January. I'm fronting the money. Once serialization has finished, we'll go to IndieGoGo and do a hardcover.
Right.
I timed shit so badly because everyone's eyes was on England going into national lockdown, Connery dying, and France terror attacks. So all I had was crickets. Before this, I had people sending me fan art. I had so many people going, please tell me what's coming
making a campaign is a I mean, listen, I haven't done one. I've done a couple campaigns, but making campaign is just a great way of advertising your book. I mean, look at Keanu Reeves, right? He didn't fund what's his book, Berserker. He could have just paid for it and published it. It was not a big deal. But putting it on, you put it on Kickstarter, I think, or IndieGoGo, whatever you put it on. By doing that, it just brought so many eyes onto the book, right? And it made it like this massive book. So it's a great idea to put together a site. How do you put together a site? Because I've really got to do that this week. So for my campaign, I've never done this before. So I take it you just click through it. It tells you what to do, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You click that thing that says like start campaign. Okay, I'll start a campaign, and then you've got the options. Find the one that just says pre-launch. Fill in the fields. Click launch, pre-launch, and then you've got all the time in the world to figure the rest out, because I'm still figuring it out myself.
But look, got another sign up as well. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, bless you guys. Thank you so much.
He makes comics. His comics are freaking fantastic. He just had one. Oh, what's it called again? Not Perfect 10. Oh, what's it called? Oh, no, I feel really bad. I can't remember it. Genuine Comics. Tell us in the chat the name of your comic, and if you can send me a link to it, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. Oh, Derek Manus is there. Fine. So this is I would say a very disturbing like crime horror graphic novel, right? I think that's how we describe it.
Yeah, it's a revenge thriller, but it's unlike any other, because I am breaking some major storytelling rules with this book. I mean, when it comes to writing a revenge,
I just got to pat myself on the back. I got it right. It is a great book. I love it, and I think you just got the second issue. Second issue's coming out. I can't remember. Look, you got to come back on the channel when it's ready, so you can talk about it. But I saw some of the stuff for it online, I think. But it's a great book. Go and check it out. If you can, here, 1 second. Can I work out how to make you a moderator? You can make you a moderator. You can just put the link in yourself. 1 second. I got to open this up. You see, you're watching a boomer in action here. Here, 1 second. Click here. Add moderator. There you go. You're now a moderator. Go ahead. Put your link in the chat. Sorry.
Nice. I will be checking that out later. So yeah, it's like one of the main things when it comes to writing a revenge story is whatever happens to the hero of the story that makes them go on that path of revenge, they cannot do anything worse than that to the people they're exacting revenge upon.
Right.
Otherwise, they become the bad guy of the story. What can you do that's worse to someone than putting them in a snuff film? Nothing.
It's
So
really,
she-
you know what? I was just scratching my head. Can't remember. Can't think of anything that would do. Right. So, what does she do then? Oh, do we have to buy the book to find out?
Oh, you'll probably have to buy the book to find out. I mean, there's some stuff that I showed you with some of that artwork that I think you've used in the thumbnail for this stream. One of my favorite spreads, the guy with the hand. She doesn't pull punches. She tries to be as fair as possible, but she does not pull punches. As far as she's concerned, you know, the ends justify the means. But that's the thing. Like, if she finds someone who, let's say they've mugged an old lady, she's not going to then shove dynamite up their ass. You know, she's going to punish them, but she's going to be fair about it. But if she finds someone who's a rapist, okay, we're going to get a little ice spit on your grave with this.
Is she going after like the people making the stuff movies, or is she going after just criminals in general?
She's I tell you what, I'll read you the synopsis from the website. Okay, so after surviving being in a snuff film, Lucille Ferrer, who aka Lady Satan, a stripper turned vigilante from France, finds herself on British soil. She has traveled from town to town, taking down criminals in the hopes that she will one day find the man responsible for her past ordeal. An ordeal that left her with post-traumatic stress disorder and persistent genital arousal disorder, as well as an appetite for revenge. But when Lady Satan finds the location of the man responsible for her traumatic past, she discovers that he is a high-ranking British police officer who is under investigation by Internal Affairs. She feels incapable of bringing him down, but Lady Satan is reluctant to exact her revenge upon him until she finds evidence that links him to some very unforgivable crimes. So now she has to battle her anxiety, her post-traumatic stress disorder, her debilitating PGAD in order to exact revenge against this high-ranking police officer.
Cool.
So,
very cool.
So, yeah.
So do you have you started to work out what type of tiers you're going to have with the campaign?
I've started to. I will admit, like, I've gone for the obvious one so far. Of like, you get the hardcover book, which is an A4 sized.
Oh, the big size. All right. Okay, I just want to say hello to Eastlyn. Eastlyn, how you doing? It's nice to actually get you live. Sorry. Carry on. So
yeah, it's going to be an A4 hardcover book. Like I said, you know, the story is about 130 pages at the moment. It will go longer than that, I would have thought. There's going to be a fan art section because I've had so much fan art come in that I want to share it. I'm thinking of doing like a couple of short prose stories to put in the back as well.
That's nice.
On top of that, I'm thinking the obvious one is to go for some A4 prints to go with it. I think that's fair. I'm looking at t-shirts, beanies, all sorts of things.
Yeah, well, so, you know, I'll show you something I'm doing with mine if I can find it. And you know what? You might want to think about it for your sign up. That's fine where I put the file. You might want to think about this for your sign up. I'm doing 4 art cards that you get one of them with any purchase. If you try to find where 1 second, I got the. I'll go to my Facebook Messenger, which is where he sent me the layout. Where is it?
Well, one thing I can say that I'm doing with this campaign is no matter what perk you back, you will get your name in the back of the book as a producer of the book. You've helped the book come to fruition. It's only fair you get creditation. Absolutely.
Facebook just sucks off. It's so slow. What the hell has happened to it?
I wish I knew. 1 minute it's zipping around like no tomorrow, and next minute it's slower than a snail having a wank.
I know. Well, you know what? I've never watched that happen, but I can't imagine that nipping, right? Although
it must take a few hours.
There's probably websites online somewhere. There's probably websites. Yeah. You know, people are into strange stuff. Yeah, people are into strange stuff. Do I have it on my desktop? Oh, is this it? Maybe this is it. No, that's not it. Oh man. Anyway, 1 second. So yeah, you think of doing print? I think I might have found it. Yeah, you go. Now bloody file. Oh, I could have just put here. You know what? Even better. I'm just gonna put it in with your stuff over here.
Cool.
There you go. That's one.
Nice.
So that's the first of the art. They're called For the Male Gaze. For the Male Gaze. Because so they're all kind of like genre takes on kind of like slightly smarty, which is kind of like my sweet spot. The next one he's working on now is a Perry shot from Doctor Who. You remember Perry?
Oh yes, I do.
So yeah, so we're so next one, and I think we'll be a Space 99 one after that. But let's go back to your. I was saying, if you want to do like 4 like postcards, and you can put those in your campaign for the sign up. That gives people something. What's the name? Willie did this cool thing. Where Willie Hazel did this cool thing where you got a badge and an art card, like a sketch card. If you signed up before the campaign. But I'm saying, listen, the campaign looks great. You know, it'd be great. Oh my god, you know, it'd be great. I think you could do this on your own. I think you could do this on your own. If you write a short prose story in this universe, and then you record it as an audio story, right, and put it on your channel, that would be really cool. I'd love to hear that.
That is something I have been thinking about a little while, because I got a couple of ideas for like short stories featuring Lady Say, and I thought do it like an old school, like the Dick Tracy or the Shadow kind of radio. Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Kind of thing. That would be so dope. Like one thing I've been thinking about a hell of a lot, along with the perks. I mean, if you go to the sign up for this campaign, and then you go on to back the book, you're going to get a sticker anyway. So that's cool. I might throw something else in with that, because I feel like a sticker is kind of like a very small gesture.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Just me. So nice.
You know, but one thing I've been thinking about is shipping this book. Now I've got this idea. Whether I can pull this idea off or not, I don't know. I've still got to do research, but I was thinking about this. You've backed the book. A few months have gone past. You know that the book's coming soon. The mailman or the delivery guy turns up with this black box with a little pentagram sticker, and the box is sealed. And the box is sealed with crime scene tape. Right?
Oh, that is so cool.
If I got that, I'd be like, holy shit, should I open this? So you open it, you pull back the tissue paper or whatever, and there's a police evidence bag. You open up the police evidence bag, and there's the book waiting for you.
That is a great perk. I love that perk. I love that. Yes, I would want to back that. I would totally want to back that. That was so cool. Yes.
Like I've been looking into it, and the hardest part is evidence bags. Like you can get them, but they are super fucking expensive. So that bit may have to go to the side, but I'm gonna keep looking, because I would love to pull that off. I think that would be so fucking dope.
Was it print them up yourself? So like my idea for shipping with my campaign is I want to have the main shipping in the US, but I got like tons of people in England going to buy it. But if you ship from the US to England, it's a freaking fortune, right? It's like $30 or $10. So what I want to do is have 2 fulfillment centers. I want to have a fulfillment in America and a fulfillment in the UK, and then we'll just ship a bunch over to the UK. And yeah, the shipment would be a little bit more to amortize out that cost. But that's what I got to look into. Were you looking to having this printed? Do you know yet?
Oh, I'm gonna go with Mixam.
That's the one I'm planning on going with as well. Everybody says they're great.
Yeah, everyone does. And like, you know, Chubb, who does Mary Boys, he's had his book printed there. I love that book. The quality of the papers and stuff is beautiful. I believe Wally's got Ilsa Dark being printed there as well, and his book just looks amazing. Yeah, it looks
great. I had one the other night when he launched.
Yes. And my main man, Russ Leach, who does Only Death Can Save Us. Like
that just finished it.
That literally finished on Halloween. He timed that so fucking well. Right. And what an amazing looking book. Like I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen a little bit, and I gotta say, I am super impressed.
Great. That's hardback as well, isn't it?
Sorry?
Is that gonna be a hardback? I can't remember. I can't.
I don't know. I'm keeping fingers crossed it is. If it isn't, I'm not
campaign very well. I mean, he got funded, and I think he got nearly double funded, something like that. He did very well on this last day. I mean, he deserved it as well. It's very good. So when do you think this is going to be launching?
You know, everyone says that like Christmas time around then is the worst time to launch a campaign, but something in my gut says no, it's not. Do it around then.
Yeah, I think December's a great time.
Yeah,
I do, because like spending, and they're going to be online, especially in the UK. December's a good.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping I can rack up as many people signing to the email list thing before around, like it would be a week or two before Christmas at earliest. At latest, it would be the beginning of January, but I think it will probably be just before Christmas.
That'll be great. So once again, I'm gonna not impeach. What's it? Implore. I'm gonna implore everybody. It's in the it's in the oh no, which way? This way. It's in the note. It's in the chat at the top here. I'll just highlight it. It's in the video notes down below. Go click the sign up so you keep updated. And again, honestly, if you're not planning on buying it, that doesn't matter. Just go and sign up. And if you can share it on your social media. That you have no idea what an incredible act of kindness it is, and it's so easy to do. So incredibly easy to do.
Absolutely. I will warn people though, this is not a book for kids. Do not look at this and think I'm going to get this for my 5-year-old, because you will hate me.
If you buy this for your 5-year-old, that you're either a weird parent or you've got a very weird kid. Either way, stay away. You know, actually, you know what? If you're buying it for your 5-year-old, that's fine. Yeah. You should buy 10 copies though, right? Buy 10 copies, because you're gonna want to like defend yourself when this kid turns into Chucky and comes at you with a knife, right? You know, so then you can hold it up, because the hardback, he's coming at you with a knife. You're going to be fine. Yeah. That's good. He's only 5. He'll be fine. Don't worry. Okay. Right. I'm going to have to go. I've got something else happening in about 5 minutes. Listen. Firstly, you're going to come back. You're going to come back regularly, and you're going to keep us all updated on
hell yes.
When the campaigns are about. But do you want to give like a final pitch to anybody watching why they need to not only sign up, but they need to get this book? I mean, listen, you talked me into it. I love it already. I really like that tier with the black box and the evidence bag. That's freaking crazy. I love that. Yeah. But go ahead and pitch anybody who's still on the fence.
You are not going to find a comic like this with Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image. This is the kind of stuff that Vertigo would have been publishing back in the days of Preacher and Sandman and all that other great stuff. If you miss that kind of storytelling that's a bit more character-driven, a bit more thoughtful, a bit more in-depth storytelling, that isn't afraid to have no holds barred, it won't pull punches, this is the book for you.
Absolutely. Listen, it's a book for you. Once again, it's in the this way in the chat, in the video notes. Click the link. Well, you don't certainly click it now. The video's coming in. Click the link. Sign up. Say, I'm going to sign up literally as soon as I finish this video. So I'm clicking the end broadcast button. It's not like Lady Satan, right? It's not like Lady Satan, because Lady Satan would know when she's clicking in the end broadcast button. She clicks the end broadcast button. The people at StreamYard, they are weak people. They don't know if you're going to end the broadcast. We're ending it. We're clicking it.